Hey, what's up? This is your girl Lucky Charm, and you are now tuned into Under the Black Rainbow, where we discuss all things black and LGBTQIAP+. Having said that, let's dive right into what we've come to talk about today, and that is the actor Malik Yoba. You guys, I am so proud in this moment. I mean, words cannot even begin to articulate um, how proud I am of Malik Yoba. Beyond being proud, I'm not going to even lie, there's a little bit of fear because, taking the step that he took today, it takes a lot of courage. And even though in the public, he may be getting lots of support, behind the scenes, I'm sure he's getting a lot of backlash, a lot of backlash as well too, a lot of ridicule for living honestly and living truthfully. Now, in case you haven't heard, in the wake of Maurice Willoughby, or Reese Willoughby out of Philadelphia, who committed suicide after a video of him being ridiculed by neighborhood bullies for loving a trans woman went viral. I guess this story must have touched Malik in a way that made him feel compelled to step out and live in his own truth. So Malik just proclaimed on Instagram that he's attracted to transgender women, which is a very, very bold proclamation. To be black, to be gay, not to be black, to be trans attracted, and to be hyper masculine, by all accounts. Most people wouldn't look at Malik and assume or think that he would be attracted to transgender women. Now I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. I have a lot of friends in Hollywood. A lot of friends in Hollywood. And I've heard about Malik dealing with transgender women before. So this isn't something that I'm completely shocked about hearing. What I'm shocked about is him owning it. Because, we've heard stories of people like Teddy Pendergrass, Chris Brown, Eddie Murphy, Bobby Valentino. We actually have footage of Bobby Valentino, and he still couldn't come out and live in his truth. But the point is that Malik is not an anomaly. Bobby Valentino is not an anomaly. What is an anomaly is a person who is a black man who's standing up and living in his truth. And hopefully Malik is setting a precedent for other black men who may live in fear. Because here's the reality. Here's the reality. When you think about it, to be a transgender woman, even though it is a very daunting prospect, it is a very um, arduous path to take in life, there is a lot of support for that. You have other trans women, you have trans support groups. There is a lot of support and outreach to trans women. But when it comes to trans attracted men, for the most part, they live in the shadows. There isn't any support. There isn't a brotherhood. There isn't a fraternal order of trans attracted men that other trans attracted men can go to and find support, because for the most part, most of them, it's a secret. They live in secrecy. And I think it's going to take more men like Malik stepping up and owning their truth. Because the bottom line is, who you love is who you love. And letting other people dictate. One of my very favorite Madonna, I don't even know if it's directly from Madonna, but I always associate the quote with Madonna, is poor is the man whose pleasures depend on the permission of another. I just botched that entire quote, but let me say it again for you. Poor is the man whose pleasures depend on the permission of another. Now let's unpack that. Essentially, what that quote is saying is, if your smile is predicated on others allowing you to smile, then chances are your smile won't be worthwhile. Does that make sense? It's your life. Own your life. Own every single moment, every single day. Go against the grain if that's what you have to do to live in your truth. But be unapologetically you. Life is too short to be anything but yourself. And so when I saw this proclamation from Malik, I was just like, wow, finally, 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 it's not some trans woman, Sydney Star-esque, outing someone and putting their business in the street. It is this man who, the weight of his heart propelled him to come out and say, I need to speak up. I need to speak up because by being silent, I'm complicit in Marcus Willoughby's death and those who may come after if I don't speak up and be honest about who I am. And it's a shame, honestly. It's really a shame that you have to speak up and make this declaration because, to be perfectly honest, it's nobody's business who you sleep with. But the reality is, the world that we live in, who you sleep with could be potentially become fodder. So I love the fact, and especially on the heels of this whole Dave Chappelle comedy, this Dave Chappelle show on Netflix, which is a whole other video unto itself. Especially on that, because I have some very, very harsh criticisms about that particular comedy special. There was nothing special and nothing comedic about it, in my opinion. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I want to stay on a positive note, and that note being Malik Yoba and him taking ownership of his life and him setting a precedent for other black men, not just black men. Because here's the thing too. There are two standards. There's a standard for black men and there's a standard for white men. As much as it pains me to say it, um, white people, non-black people, white people in particular. I'm just gonna call it I'm gonna say it like it is right now. White people tend to be a little bit more accepting, a little bit more tolerant. Is there ignorance that exists within the white community? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't think a white man who chooses to love a trans woman is going to have the same fallout that a black man, because black men are seen as the epitome of masculinity, the epitome, the pinnacle, the apex of masculinity. And so for a black man to be attracted to a trans woman, in the eyes of many, actually in the eyes of most, somehow diminishes that masculinity. Now, I'm here to tell you there's nothing stronger, there is nothing more masculine than a man who says, fuck you to everybody. This is who I am, and this is who I love. It's easy to follow social norms. It's easy to to live life on the terms and conditions that society sets. But when you step up and step out and begin to live life on your own terms and conditions, that's a very daunting prospect. But Malik decided to do it. And he's a little older, he's a little bit more seasoned, but in spite of that, he's still relevant enough that he's going to inspire conversations for many. And one of the things I thought was really cool is that he said he was going to be attending a trans march in DC. Like, he's taking on the role of activist now. That's crazy. That's crazy. You know how black people were when Colin Kaepernick took a knee and refused to stand during the national anthem? That's how I feel in this moment with having Malik Yoba come out. Being a trans woman and knowing how difficult dating can be sometimes because people are afraid to live honestly and truthfully. Um, Malik's declaration definitely has an impact on my life. It has an impact on the way that I date because, see, I'm very particular. I'm very particular. If you want to play hide and go seek, you can go do that with somebody else, but you will not do that with me because I'm a bad bia. Did I say bia? I'm trying to curtail the profanity, but my point being is that I bring a lot to the table: intelligence, drive, support. I mean, everything that I look for in a man, I bring to the table as a woman, as a trans woman. And let me say this: not even a trans woman. I'm a woman trans. Before I am trans, I am a woman. I'm not a trans woman. I'm a woman trans. That's what I am. I am a woman trans. If you see me, whether it be up close or from 2 blocks away, you see a woman. When we have a conversation and I disclose to you that I'm trans, now you know that I'm trans, but the first thing you see is a woman. So therefore, I am a woman first before I'm trans. I'm not trans until I choose to disclose that to you. So, having said that, I am so happy that Malik did this. And maybe someone like Bobby Valentino, after seeing what Malik has done, maybe he might step out and live in his truth. Maybe other black men may take a look around and look at their brothers because there are a lot of black men out there who are trans attracted. There are a lot of black men out there who fetishize trans women as well, who may be attracted to them physically, but might not necessarily want to have a relationship with one, but they're out there. They're your brothers, they're your uncles, they're your fathers, they're your cousins, they're your best friends, they're your teammates. They're out there. They're out there. And a lot of them would be more forthcoming and more honest and more inclusive if you gave them the space to exist honestly. Honestly. So I could go on and on and on about this, and to be completely honest with you, I probably will just because, I don't know, like September 3rd, 2019 is like officially Malik Yoba Day. Like, Malik just changed the conversation in a major way. He changed the conversation. Like, people's heads are spinning. Maybe not people in Hollywood, because I'm quite sure that people in Hollywood, this is not some huge secret. And maybe Malik coming out now takes a lot of pressure off the people around him, because I'm sure that they were probably, exhausted with having to defend him and pretend like they didn't know, because Hollywood is messy. People talk. And I'm sure that people were talking, and again, there were murmurings about his sexuality and his attraction to transgendered women. And now those people that he close to don't have to deal with the burden of carrying that cross anymore, because he took all the pressure off and said, you know what, world, I'm ready to stand up and stand in my own truth. So shout out to Malik. Shout out to any other man out there of color, any black man, white man, Asian man, Hispanic man out there who is trans attracted and afraid to live in your truth. Do it when you're ready. Do it on your own timetable. I understand. For me as a transgender woman, it took me a long time to be comfortable in my skin. I remember. Let me tell you a really quick story before I go. I remember when I first began transitioning, how afraid I was to do the most mundane tasks. Um, I remember one time, myself and a group of my friends, we all decided that we were going to go to a movie, and we were going to test our fishiness. So we all got dressed up, went to the mall, to a movie theater, and my knees and my hands were literally shaking. They were shaking because I was so afraid to be out in public, to have people see me, to be judged, to be ridiculed. I was so ashamed that I couldn't even go to the movie. I made up some excuse about why we shouldn't go, and we wound up going out to a gay club where I felt comfortable. And then over time, I began to say, it's my life. And even when I began to say it's my life, it was still a learning curve. There was still a period of acclimation that I had to go through in order to be comfortable in my own skin. I remember being afraid to get out and pump gas. The simplest things. I remember being afraid to go buy groceries. I remember being afraid to go to the courthouse to have my name legally changed. I remember being afraid to go to the hospital because I didn't want doctors, to have to answer certain questions about my sexual, I'm sorry, my gender identity. I remember just so many instances where I was just afraid to be me. That day has long since passed. I go into any grocery store I choose to now. I put my own gas. I work full time as a woman. I do everything that I want to do in my own skin, and I don't give people permission to make me feel uncomfortable anymore. I have the right to exist just as anyone else does. But the thing that I understand is that, excuse me, it took me some time to get to that point. It wasn't an overnight process. And so whenever I'm dating a guy, um, and I know that he may have some reservations, I always tell him, look, just be honest with me. Let's have an adult conversation about what the issue is. Because it took me a while to get to the point that I was comfortable going out. Now, just because I'm there, I'm not expecting for you to be there overnight. But if you're trying to be with me, at some point you're going to have to start taking steps. And now those steps might be a trip out of town where no one knows you, where you can see that when I go out in public, it's not that big of a deal. People aren't really paying attention to me. No one's paying attention to me, in fact. But you don't know that because you know that I'm transgendered. So because you know that I'm transgendered, everything is magnified to you. Everything is magnified in your eyes because you're seeing it through the lens of knowledge and awareness. And so I say that to say this, that transgender women, if you're dating a man who's trans attracted, give him space, give him room to grow, allow him the space and opportunity to be comfortable, because it took you some time to get there. You cannot expect him to be there overnight, or you cannot expect him to be there on your timetable. As long as he's making advances, and as long as you guys are having conversations, um, give him some time, give him some room. I hope, in closing, let me say this: I hope that this conversation that Malik has started, I hope that um, he takes it a step further and starts some sort of support group for trans attracted men. It's a lonely world out there, when you don't have other people to support you. It's a lonely, lonely world out there. So, shout out to Malik Yoba. Um, I just went from being an admirer to a fan. I can't say enough positive things about him. I know his inbox is going to be lit. I know his inbox is going to be lit on Instagram. Every trans woman from across the universe is sitting there like typing away, trying to put her beat in. So, um, you know what? And look, don't judge me for what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say this too before I go. I'm all about love who you love, right? I don't have a problem with interracial relationships. I really don't. But for the sake of seeing the very first black trans attracted man coming out, I pray, please let his girlfriend be black. Can I just have that moment? Can I just have a full blown moment of black love in a trans capacity? Can I have that? Nothing against interracial relationships again. Love who you love, but I would love to see Malik and a beautiful trans woman holding hands and defying social norms and doing so while loving and supporting each other. All right, that's about it, you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's your girl, Lucky Charm. I'm gonna talk a little ish, but I'll mean no harm, and I'll talk to you guys again in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.